Bueno, ya está arrancando la transmisión, así que la gente remota les pedimos que nos comenten por chat acerca del audio, si están dando bien. Ahora no se preocupen que vamos a cambiar la compu para transmitir, pero primero queremos hacer los chequeos, así a ver si está todo bien. Así que la gente remota les pedimos que nos comente por chat si están escuchando bien o si no se escucha nada. Vos estás ahí, ¿no? En el chat. Perfecto. Bueno. Sí, tarda unos minutitos. No, yo estoy muy ansioso. Bueno. Perfecto. Estoy chequeando más que nada la distancia por acá. Y de este lado. Por acá. Por acá. Está bien. No, yo para él, no para mí. Bueno, ya somos bastantes. ¿Cómo están? ¿Todo bien? Bueno, bienvenidos a la Meetup de Mayo de React en Buenos Aires. Vamos a hacer una pregunta, a ver, para entender un poco quiénes están del otro lado. ¿Quiénes vinieron a la Meetup de abril? Levante la mano. ¿Cuándo fue? Muy bien, muy bien. Bueno, esta es una Meetup especial que hicimos de una semana a la otra. No solemos hacer esto, la idea es dejar 1 o 2 semanitas como de diferencia para que el público se renueve y ustedes también no tengan que estar yendo de Meetup en Meetup. Lo que nos pasó es que tenemos un invitado que se está yendo mañana, literalmente, entonces era hoy o nunca. Bien, ya están viendo básicamente lo que vamos a contar. Yo para que me voy un poquito de este lado, por acá está bien, para que me vea la gente remota. Vamos a ver un poquito de esto, ahora vamos a cambiar un poco la cámara, así la gente remota lo ve bien, pero quiero hacer un poco la introducción para contarles a los nuevos, ¿no? ¿Quién viene por primera vez a la Meetup? Muy bien. ¿Cómo nos conocieron? Amigos, bien. ¿Twitter? ¿No? ¿Instagram? ¿Meetup? ¿Buscaste en dónde? Bueno, me encantó. Vamos a hablar. Quiero ver por dónde buscaste. Nos interesa mucho Meetup. Perfecto. La idea es que nos interesa mucho saber cómo nos conoce la gente nueva. Los que no hablaron, los nuevos, si tienen ganas, después búsquenme después de la charla. Porque queremos saber por dónde investigan nuevas meetups, ¿no? Yo no sé si meetup.com sigue siendo lo que la mayor cantidad de gente utiliza, ¿no? En su momento, cuando yo era más joven, sí lo era, ¿no? Pero ahora por ahí hay otros medios que queremos ir a buscarlos. Así que, nada, coméntenos lo que quieran, lo que quieran, lo que nos puedan comentar nos sirve. No sé, Niki, si querés contar algo.
Bueno, primero que nada, agradecerles a todos los que están acá, porque vi pocas manos esta vez levantadas de la primera vez. Eso es una muy buena señal, significa que la gente está volviendo, que les está gustando lo que estamos haciendo. Y otra cosa, estamos creciendo un montón en redes. Todos los días tenemos un montón de nuevos seguidores y eso también se los queremos agradecer a todos, a la gente que está en remoto también, porque nos están ayudando a crecer la comunidad, a que podamos hacer cada vez más charlas, más lugares. Bueno, ahora hicimos muy seguidas, pero está muy bueno todo esto y bueno, siempre agradecerles a todos los que están acá. Un pequeño recordatorio, yo sé que hay gente que tiene ganas de dar charlas, ya estuve hablando con gente, no se animan, pero no se preocupen que si tienen ganas, acá los chicos son expertos en charlas, los pueden ayudar, no hace falta que tengan la charla pensada, no hace falta que sepan un tema, solo pueden acercarse y decir, che, quiero dar una charla, necesito ayuda, y lo sacamos adelante, así que pueden ir a nuestras redes, ahí en las biografías tienen un formulario para anotarse si quieren ya tienen un tema o en especial, y bueno. Más que nada por eso, si van a subir historias, nos encantaría que la gente también en remoto suba historias mirándonos, qué es lo que están haciendo, por ahí están comiendo algo, que nos etiqueten, porque así cada vez vamos creciendo más y podemos llegar a hacer muchas más cosas, una comunidad más grande, que ya hay cosas en mente, pero no voy a hablar nada.
Sí, con respecto a la Meetup de junio, que es la próxima que va a venir, ya la vamos a ir obviamente comentando por las redes, contándoles un poquito mejor, ya la tenemos casi preparada, y la de julio también. Así que también si quieren saber, ya tenemos un par de Meetups para adelante. No hacemos todas justamente para el espacio, ¿no? Si alguno de ustedes quiere que vayamos a su empresa, ¿no? Y quieren contarnos lo que hace su empresa, bienvenido sea. O si ustedes, como dijo Niki, che, quiero dar una charla, la tengo preparada, no la tengo preparada, pero la tengo en la cabeza, necesito ayuda, es sobre este tema, todos los sabores son bienvenidos, ¿no? Nosotros queremos fomentar que gente nueva dé charlas, ¿no? Y queremos fomentar ir a lugares nuevos, ¿no? Y conocer empresas nuevas y ver qué están haciendo las empresas argentinas. Así que nada, les tiro la pelota hacia ustedes, de vuelta el mismo pedido, después de la charla, acérquense, coméntenos, tírennos ideas. Esta es una meetup que se hace desde la comunidad para la comunidad, que son ustedes, no somos nosotros. Entonces, pedimos que ustedes nos den ideas para hacerlo y que vayamos armándola como nosotros queremos. ¿Bien? ¿Está bien? Bueno, estamos preparando básicamente la demo, estamos preparando lo que sería todo lo demás, no se preocupen, tenemos 2 charlas muy buenas. Yo un comentario que voy a estar buscando ahora también lo que es la keynote de la conferencia que estuvo pasando hoy, no sé si alguno la vio, ¿no? La gente de Next.js hicieron una conferencia, gente de Vercel, ¿no? Hizo una conferencia, así que también voy a estar mirando por ahí, a ver si la keynote está buena, como para ver si después de la charla. ¿Qué pasa, Mati? Sí, es muy buena, esa fue la gran noticia, igual spoileaste la keynote. Exactamente, él la vio. Pero claro, eran las 2 cosas que estaban ahí, que estaban en beta, que las iban a lanzar. Yo hablé con Gonzi básicamente la semana pasada y me dijo, no tengo información, pero, viste, estas cosas pueden salir. Y bueno, dicho y hecho, ¿no? Era esperable. Así que nada, voy a buscarla a ver si está bueno, que después por ahí la charla, mientras estamos tomando birras, la ponemos de fondo y escuchamos ahí las novedades de Next.js. ¿Cómo nos encuentran, Niki, por las redes? ¿Le podemos contar?
En Instagram somos React Buenos Aires, todo junto. En Twitter, React-BA. Y bueno, desde ahí pueden entrar también al link en Instagram. Tenemos el Linktree donde están todas nuestras redes, así que ahí ya tienen todo súper fácil, simplificado con todo lo que necesitan.
Bueno, perfecto. Ahí me dice la gente remota que no se escucha, así que les pido que me cuenten nuevamente si se escucha o no. A ver si es Alex o hay alguien más que no está escuchando. Everything is set up. Are you ready? All right. So.
I took to this one.
Yeah, but you don't put it in your
Okay.
¿Se escucha?
And the second mic?
Vamos a probar si se escucha. Ahí se escucha, ¿no? ¿Del fondo? Perfecto.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So yeah, you have to thank Facundo. So give him a big clap. Because he's one of the reasons I'm here. This talk, I've done it, when was it? Last year in September in React Alicante. So I'm recycling it today. Since then, I do have a bit of knowledge because I've been working on different projects. So my name is Aris Markogiannakis. You might not be able to pronounce my Greek surname because it's too long. It's like a train. I'm going to talk today about composing full-stack microfrontends with Next.js and Module Federation. Have you used microfrontends? Have you used Next.js?
Yes.
React?
Yes.
Angular?
Yes.
Vue?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what I will show you today, you can use it in any framework. The same repository has a lot of examples, so you can use microfrontends in a lot of frameworks. Okay, let me, this one, right or left, I don't know. Sorry, I cannot go on. Do I press the button? Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, I went fast. So, yeah, hola. My name is Aris. So, yeah, most people know me because I run conferences. I don't know if you know CityJS, but I'm the founder and organizer of this conference. I started like 5 years ago in London. I live in London, but these days I'm traveling a lot. So I came here from Sao Paulo, where we had the CityJS Sao Paulo. I work as a consultant for a company called Foolproof. They're based in London. It's a design agency, and we have offices in a lot of different places. We don't have any more Singapore, but we have in South Africa and London. I'm a Prisma ambassador. I have to say that my name is Aris, and I support a team in Greece that is also called Aris. And my team in Greece, we love Boca Juniors. So for you today, I wear a Boca Juniors t-shirt. The atmosphere in our stadium is very similar to La Bombonera. And a lot of the things that you have in La Bombonera, we copy them, and it's very similar. When you open this slide, it was 2009. Our stadium was full of fire, and we had a friendly game with Boca Juniors. So yeah, every supporter of my team is like crazy for Boca Juniors. And thanks to Facundo, I was able to go outside. So now it's time for serious stuff. Boca Juniors is also very serious. But if you are one of the other teams like River Plate, isn't it? Sorry, but we are Boca Juniors. So I've been a developer for like 20 years. I did .NET. I've done full stack. I went to front end, and then I went. So most of the problems that we have at the moment is like consistencies with browsers. For example, I used to work with IE8 and IE9. And basically, the CEO of the company that I was working for, he was using Windows, and he was using an old PC, and we have to maintain the website for IE8. So we have to suffer for all the stuff. We want to work with Chrome or any like Mozilla or all these kind of browsers. A lot of times we work with inconsistencies. There's like a lot of front-end, back-end interaction. We are fighting with a monolith, and that's what we're going to talk about it and how we can deal with it. We're working with somebody else's code. Everyone, right? We have been working with somebody else's code. One of the most difficult parts is to understand the other person's code and try to fix the bugs, right? And we have a lot of other dependencies. And we don't have any idea what we are doing most of the time. We just have to make things work, right? And then this was kind of some time ago. Server-side apps were slow, so we started building client-side apps, and then we went back. So yeah, this was a funny tweet I found on the web. So what we want, so we saw the problems, and that's what we want. We want to have code that is reusable. We want to have code consistency. We want our code to be testable, so we want to create testing. We want to save time to production. We want performance. We want usability and accessibility. And this is all the complexity we have as developers, right? We want everything, and there's no time most of the time. And you work with really tight deadlines. You have to make sure that everything works okay. And we suffer from all this stress for making everything perfect. But a lot of times we need to think about architecture before everything else. Most of you find that you start working with code before you think how you're gonna architect your code. You just go straight and you start coding. But we need to sit back, and we have to think of how we're gonna make it proper before we start. So we have to take a step back, and we have to think of architecture. So most of the time we don't do that, but we need to do it. And you haven't met this person, but for me, it has influenced me a lot. He works for AWS. You know him, and he's one of the people that he talked to me a lot about. He has influenced me about MobX and about state management in React. And LUGAR also helped me to start the City.js 5 years ago. And currently he's very into architecture. And he in his explanation, because we're talking about microfrontends, microfrontends represent a business domain that is autonomous, independently deliverable, and not by a single team. Okay, this might not say a lot about it, but let's take a look at an example. So when we want to develop microfrontends, and I'm just going to go to a slide after that. Imagine that this is a page, okay? And most of us, we know about single page applications, right? And single page application is one page that's the whole application. With microfrontends, we are thinking of breaking that page into pieces that different teams in the company work independently. So there are two different parts, two different ways of doing it. The horizontal way and the vertical way. The horizontal way is when we have one page and we break the page into microfrontends. And each team works on a different microfrontend. So imagine the search is one microfrontend. The listing of the products, it's another microfrontend. So if you are a big company, you might want to break that into teams that work on the same page, but on different parts of the page. It's like a much more extended component. Okay, because like a text box is like a tiny component. But when we develop components that are very huge and they have a lot of functionality in them, then that becomes not just a component, it is a microfrontend. So basically the idea is that we have teams that they work independently. And the idea is that when we deploy the code, so you can deploy this part, but this part is not going to be affected. So if something happens by deploying this part is going to still be working. Sorry, I'm going to close the microphone. Okay, so we want to deploy on we want to work on runtime without affecting what happened, the power. So that's the core idea. But the teams are working independently. So because what we're trying to solve, it's minimize the dependencies. For example, as a front-end developer, I have a dependency to back-end developers. Most of us, we are waiting for an API to be built before we finish our code. So that's a dependency. So if the whole, what happened again? Sorry. You can still see the light on my, okay, that's good, I tested that. Oh, we have to go back. Right. So otherwise, this is a big monolith. That's what we call a monolith. So we are breaking the application into smaller parts that they all have their own, they can be deployed independently. And that's how we break the monolith. So that's why what Luca mentioned, I cannot go back. When I click to go back. Again. Oh yes. So when he mentions about domain, it means that we are breaking. So how many are we here now? Like 70 people, or less, or more. If we were all working on the same page, and let's say it was a big website, let's say Amazon, we would have to break the whole architecture into dependent teams. That the one team is working on a future products, another team is working on the search. So microfrontends, you could say that they could be ideal for like a really large scale companies, but you might be working on a startup, and you might start working on you might be developing microfrontends, and then your project can be scalable. Okay. So we spoke a bit about definition, and I'm not going to speak about routing, but they can have their own routing. But we're going to focus more on the composition part of it. So before I learned what is microfrontends, they were talking a lot about it, but I couldn't understand it because I haven't seen it how it works. I'm a very visual person, and I like to learn by seeing the actual thing rather than talking a lot about it. So I went and tried to use it instead of like talking about it. Yeah, the communication part. Luca has a book, which I recommend it to you if you want to learn about it. And I read this book, and I took a lot of parts from that book, and I transferred it to the notes. So yeah, this is the horizontal way, and that's the vertical. The vertical means that you split the application into different pages with different routes. So this is one page, this is two pages, and they are working on a different paths of the application. Team Mayo is working on one page, the other team is working on another page. Okay. Okay, so as I was trying to understand how they work, I was asking friends, how can I compose the microfrontends? So this is one way of doing it. So maybe I go here, and the slides, are they here? We want to play the videos. So I will tell you, like, if you want to start learning how to speak, never do a live demo because something might go wrong. So let's play the first video here. So this is the URL where you can get the code from. So this is where I'm installing the application. So I just press npm create microfrontend with the latest code. It's installing all the dependencies. I can pick the name of the project. So in that case, because it was in Alicante, I just pick Alicante microfrontend. It's a nice conference, and Facundo and me, we're gonna speak in again this year. So you can pick the port. You can pick the name of the microfrontend. So I just picked React 1. And then it's installing all the dependencies for you. So this was the installation part of it. Yeah. Let's see the second video. So the next, yeah. The next video is I'm running from my Visual Studio Code. It has created a folder called Microfrontends React 1. And inside the folder, there is an app TSX, Hello Microfrontends, and Hola Microfrontends. So it's there are like several little applications in one application. And then we're gonna see in a bit. When I run the application, it's installing all the packages, and then I'm gonna run the whole application. In microfrontends, you have a container app, and then you have the little microfrontends, which are smaller applications. So I just did yarn dev. It's starting the page. So I think maybe that's the end of the video. Let's play the second one. Oh. Yeah, stop it. So the last one. So you saw it was very easy to do it. So this is the one we're gonna see. I'm gonna copy paste the folder, and it's going to create a second microfrontend. And then we will see both microfrontends on the same page. So this is the folder, React 1. So I did a copy. I renamed it to React 2. I changed the package name to React 2. And on the packagization, I changed the name of the project to React 2. I just changed there is an H2, and I've just changed it so we can see both microfrontends on the same page. And then this is the page that hosts both microfrontends. So I'm just copy paste the host. And now this page will have both microfrontends. With just one line, I was able to copy and add the second microfrontend. So now you're going to see the page, and I have the first microfrontend and the second microfrontend. Obviously, these are, because it's a demo, they're simple and just a line of text, but they could be a bit more than that. Okay, the only problem with this is that is only front end, so there is no back end. My idea is that, let's go back to the slide. My idea is that we tried the front end. Oh, it's not going next. Sorry, Facundo. Give a big clap for Facundo. He's the best. I saw the whole Buenos Aires so quickly. I couldn't believe it. So that's where the code is, if you want to copy it. So I believe that we should all go back and be full stack developers. We've tried the front end part and it didn't work. I hate every day to go back to a back-end developer and ask them for the endpoint. I just want to do the whole thing by myself. I don't want to wait for the person to give me the API. I just want to go the full end-to-end, and the teams should be end-to-end. So if we're going to separate the teams, we need to do it the whole end-to-end. The problem is, when I was doing this talk, I had the idea, but it was not. I found the first idea, but the first idea of doing microfrontends, it was only front end. I asked the guy that he built it if I can add Node and I can be SSR. He told me no, that's not possible. Because I do the conferences, I know a lot of people. I went straight to the guy that he developed the Module Federation. How many of you do you know Module Federation? No? Okay, went to people? Yes. So basically, I wanted to, to make autonomous. I want to make it SSR. So yeah, this is what most of us found. That that's how I feel every time I'm asking for someone to give me the API endpoint, and I'm waiting and waiting until they give me, and I have to do a lot of mockups, and I have to wait and wait and wait until they are ready, and then I can put it all together. And then it's my problem that the code is not. It takes a lot of time to be built because I took it really late. So that's why I told you that we need it. And okay, is it easy for a front end to become a full stack developer? And this is like a cool place where you can find a lot of nice comics with developer jokes. So I just copy that. Yeah, I don't know, like, for example, I don't know yet really well how to use Docker. I'm just learning. So yeah, one way to get us to become full stack developer is to use, for example, GraphQL, right? And with GraphQL is an open source data query and manipulation language for APIs and a runtime for fulfilling queries with existing data. And GraphQL was developed by Facebook in 2012. And it can be used as an API gateway, and it can act as a unique entry point with a micro frontend, and it can simplify the data retrieval for clients. The problem is that it offers a schema federation, so we can have a lot of teams working with the same schemas, but I wanted to use a technology that it could offer the database federation. And I don't know if you know, I'm a Prisma ambassador, and so Facundo. And I love Prisma because of the flexibility and what it does. Like you can just create a database on the fly very quickly. I thought of, let's say we have the different micro frontends, like a product catalog, product reviews, basket, sign up. And we have like one Prisma client that talks to the database for everything. Or you could have a different architecture, which is like a product catalog, one database, you can have it all end to end. But with Prisma, you can do it on any database. You can use SQL, MySQL, Postgres. You can use any database you want. And you don't need to know about databases. It's because it's all in React. Okay, so it's very slow. And this is like a schema. For example, we have a store that has an ID, it's a string, a title, a location, a collection of products. A single product can have a string, a name, the date that is created, the date that is updated, and stores. So it links back to that. So that's a schema. You can write a schema in Prisma, and then you can write some commands, and it will generate a database for you. Or you can do it the other way. You can have the database and run a command, and it will retrospect from the database. So it's very easy. So we don't need to become full end-to-end, but we have some sort of knowledge, and it can be very easy to put it all together. So this is our page. We have a header. We have a product list. This is one micro frontend. This is another micro frontend. This is another micro frontend. All these are on the same page. They're being built by different teams. And when I deploy the product list, it doesn't affect the user information because that deploys separately. And this is deploying separately. So if I do something on here, this is going to still work. And this is going to still work. Okay, so if you want to learn how to do Prisma, you can run npm install Prisma. You can initialize Prisma. You can create a schema. And you can deploy your code to GitHub. Like you can do it in many different ways, but this is one of the ways. There was a cool feature, but I don't know if they still have it, and they had a proxy, and you could link that with a system. But yeah, it's so yeah, that was the Prisma data proxy. I found it quite useful, but the company found that I don't know if they still use it. Do you know? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I will show you the example of the code, and we're gonna focus more on the. So basically, this is the example. Where is the? How can I run this one? Sorry, give me another clap. So yeah, I could go to the Prisma data proxy, and I could write the name of the project. I would import the schema from one of my GitHub repos. In this case was the React Alicante Microfrontends project. And then inside there, I had a schema that it was for, 1 second, let me see. So the schemas, they were in independent folders. So I could link to the orders path. And you could use it with Planet Scale or Heroku, but Heroku stopped being free at some point. So this great idea probably didn't work very well after that. So you could set up the project, and when you are pressing done, it was creating the database with your schema in Heroku. That means it was creating the tables and everything for you. It was amazing. So I found it really, really cool. How do I press next? Yeah. So it was a cool thing. So can Prisma run the browser? Basically, I found out that Prisma was not able to run on the client, on the browser. It needs to run on Node. So I thought, I don't want to say the F word. No, I had this idea, but how is it going to run on Node? It doesn't have Node. The other project didn't have Node. So what I'm going to do? And it needs a server. So is there any way I can make it work for all these microfrontends? So I thought module federation and Webpack 5. So multiple separate builds should form a single application. I was on a Greek island. I don't know if you know Santorini. I wasn't in Santorini. I was in another one called Ikaria. And my sister is here as well. And we were all partying hard at night. I was going back. I was speaking with Zach, who is the Module Federation creator. He came to London this year and he talked about what I'm talking now. I told him, Zach, can I do Module Federation with SSR? He said to me, this is what I'm working right now. I told him, dude, I need it. I'm doing a talk in September in Alicante. And if I don't have this, I'm screwed. Sorry for the word. So he told me, okay, get my project and run it now. Okay, thank you. Whew. So yeah, this is where we're gonna see the final demo, which is the video that I have. Basically, he has developed, it has a big path with module federation, and you can develop micro frontends for any framework, Angular, Vue, anything. So I have to say, I made a mistake and I brought a Windows PC with me. And I tried to run it, but I couldn't. So I have recorded the video screen to show you the demo. And it's not very straight. So basically, we have the item catalog, and it's very shaky, and the orders folder. And basically, what happens with this solution, you can have like a container app and the micro frontends. And what you can do, you can install the micro frontends. I don't know if you know, we can pause it here. So basically, if you're running Next.js, it has this method called getStaticProps. With getStaticProps, you can do stuff server side. So basically, I was able to import the client of Prisma, or I could do something in Node if I wanted to, and get the data and then pass it on the page. So I was able to create, not me, but I used, none of us creates unless we do open source. I was able to use Zach's solution and create microfrontends that they are end-to-end with SSR. So I was able to use the get static props, import the client, and then create the client there. And then I can do Prisma store find many, which means I'm doing like a select all in SQL. And then here I put the console log just to test. I was able to return all the stores on the page. Come here per second. Which before I wasn't able to do it because it was not possible. So, sorry, I know it's shaky, but we can stop it and you can see more stuff. So I did this for this project. And okay, sorry, let me go further. So here you can see that I have this next config, and I'm defining which components or which pages I'm going to expose to other projects, so they can import it on the other project. Because Webpack, I look at this one. Found it, okay. Sorry, now I got it. So what is Webpack? It is basically like a virtual, like, you know what we used to say, Windows Explorer? Oh, what did I do? Oh, sorry for that. And I will pause it 1 second. Okay, so basically in this solution, you can define in your next config where the other microfrontends run. So the main microfrontend, the main core application runs on localhost 3000, while the item catalog runs on 3001, and the other microfrontend runs on 3002. What Webpack does, it's like it uses those paths to go and retrieve the JavaScript or the TSX component and then run it on the container app. So this way we can have separate projects and use those kind of dependencies from the other project and import them to the main project. And so we are separating our applications, we're making them more independent, and then we're bringing them to the main project without having real dependencies and mixing our code with everything else. So, oh, where's the mouse? Sorry. Sorry, I cannot find the mouse. So both of these projects, the item catalog, and there's another project, item catalog and orders, they do the same thing. They have the get static props, they go to Prisma, they get the data, they print it on the page. Yeah, if you play. This is an example with Prisma, but you can do something else different. The code. So this is the main application. When you see Can you use what? Okay, yeah, so you can see here, this is the orders page. The red, what is the red box is the main application. And what is the pink box is what I'm bringing from the microfrontend. So basically, you cannot see it clearly, but this runs on localhost 3001 orders. It is the main application, and it's like an iframe that we are bringing inside, but with no using iframes. We're using Webpack. And basically, the container is bringing the JavaScript component inside here, and it's running it, running the get static props within the. That's what is happening. So if we go further down, this is the item catalog, but running on localhost 3002. So this is when I'm loading that URL. And then this is the item catalog running from the container app. So basically, I was able to import the whole app into another app. And at the very end, one second, I was able to import two apps on the same page. Those are independent. So if I change this on production, if I deploy this, it's not going to affect this application. And they run end-to-end, which means they load the front end, but they also go and get the data and display on the page. Because I know he works for Storyblok, I've told him many times that we could do, you know how nice they have it, and they have like you can create components and you can import them. You could create micro front ends with Storyblok, and you could have it like separate applications on the same page. And you could have a team that works on displaying, you know, the featured news, and that will be one micro front end. And you could have another team, but if something happens in one micro front end, it means that the whole page is not going to get complete, you know, down. So it's not going to be like a lot of errors, because those applications are completely independent. And the best thing about it is that with Zach's way of doing it, with module federation, you can have the container, you know, when you do npm install and installing Prisma, I can install Prisma on the container app, and then all the micro front ends can reuse the same dependency, which means I don't have to install Prisma for every single micro front end. Because if I do that, it means that the build time is going up, because every micro front end has the same dependencies. So that's a cool feature for module federation. Ever since I did this talk, there have been a lot of improvements. There is now a new builder called Aris. And during the conference that I did in London, there was a big announcement for Aris being used for Angular. So yeah, I've tried to use Vercel way of doing micro front ends, and I wouldn't recommend it, because it is the vertical approach. So every page has a different micro front end, and you can deploy the solution into Vercel. Vercel, when I spoke with Zach, he told me that it supports module federation, But there is also another way you can do it with just using the Vercel way with Next.js. But it was not really nice because there was a lot of mix-up with the dependencies. So yeah, this is the whole application, the whole talk, and I hope you got a few points about the microfrontends. And if you have any questions, you can find me. My Twitter is Aris Marko, and you can always ask me something. I don't know. Maybe one day there's a CityJS in Buenos Aires, but I don't know. It's a lot of work, and we try not to do too many. We have expanded quite a lot, but yeah, maybe one day. But thank you very much. It was gracias. Any questions? Which one?
No, I mean, have the meet with you. Yeah, just have some words. I'm gonna give me. Quédate vos acá, así se lo vamos pasando. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Pueden hacerla en castellano o en inglés. Bueno, la mecánica va a ser la siguiente. Usted pasa a vos se la pasas a todos y después la pasa ahí pasa la voz.
Okay, first of all, thanks for this presentation. Microphone. My question is it faster to use a microfrontend than not using it? I understand.
So the question is, because I've been using it for the past, I don't know how many months, like 4 or 5 months now. We have been developing like an application, but we were using the Vercel way. It can be, sometimes it can be really painful. The first solution I showed you with Lint.js, you can start with developing as a monolith, and then you can switch it to microfrontend. The thing is, it depends if you have a big team. In my team, we're only 4 people. So having to do all, okay, where is the code going to go? To this microfrontend. How are we going to call the microfrontend? Which name we're going to give? Sometimes you just thought, should I do it as a single page application and just get over it? Because it can take a lot of time. But it depends. In my experience, a website lasts for like 2 years. Every 2 years, something changes in what we do, and then you have to go and change everything. I think with Module Federation, sorry, I'm moving. I don't know because I'm moving this mouse. With Module Federation, because there is Zach is investing quite a lot of time. There is a lot of backing. It might work well but you still have the problem of, I have now, instead of one application, I have now 5 or 6 applications. But if it's a big company, it might work well. If it's a small team, it might not really work very well. But in the future, maybe you're building something more scalable. Because we all starting building something, and then we thought, why didn't do it that way? So it's a decision you have to take. Any other questions?
Por las dudas, mientras alguno levanta la mano para hacer alguna pregunta, les comento que esto lo streameamos, así que está en nuestro canal de YouTube y lo van a poder seguir viendo ahí. Creo que en el chat preguntaron si el video está en YouTube. Todos nuestros videos están, todas nuestras meetups, mejor dicho, están en nuestro canal de YouTube y lo pueden ver las meetups pasadas también. Es la idea también, ¿no? Que quede hasta que YouTube muera o el mundo se termine, lo que pase primero. ¿Alguna pregunta? Acá.
Yo voy a hablar español. Una pregunta, ¿has utilizado los microfrontends dinámicos en un host que también tenga servicio de rendering, porque sé que es medio complicado utilizar microfrontends dinámicos en Next.js específicamente.
So
dynamicos.
have you used dynamic microcontents with the host? Hola.
Sí, o sea, si el hostx tolera hacer ese rendering, ¿cómo se ha utilizado?
If you have used Next.js with server-side rendering and dynamic what? Microcontents.
So this one was probably like an experiment. Okay, but I think it's a good experiment because it does the whole end-to-end and it is dynamic. What I've used in the current job, basically it's more of the versal way. So we have to use, and then we have to do AJAX calls to the APIs. But I believe that I did this one because I didn't like the fact that every time I want to do something, I have to ask for an API call. You could stick an Apollo client here, and you could make the whole end-to-end with your Apollo client, and you could put the Apollo client on the master, the container app, and then all the microfrontends will work from one Apollo client. And you could make it dynamic.
Okay. ¿Qué más? ¿Alguna pregunta? Vamos, ahí hay dos. Vamos por allá primero. Levanto la mano primero y vamos por acá.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. for being here. Yeah, I would like to know what happened about the kind of the storage in the browser, like local storage or session storage. The both application can interact with that kind of variables, global variables.
I think where you're heading to is the communication between the microfrontends. So you could use a local storage for the microfrontends to communicate with each other.
O sea, básicamente necesitas ir hasta allá para que te digan que sí. Nada.
A veces manejar la actualización de una parte sencilla de un front-end se vuelve complicado. Aquí, si tengo 3 o 4, ¿cómo comunico una con otra? ¿O qué tan sencillo es o qué tan fácil es comunicar una parte con otra para hacer una simple actualización de otra sección?
Actualización de estado,
Sí.
Interacción. Sí.
Has he used microfrontend? Have you used microfrontend? Have you used microfrontend? But yeah, I mean the main point is that if we deploy this application in microfrontends, this is going to stay as it is because they're independent, but it's complicated. So there is complicado for sure. Then what I was gonna say is that this could be good for if like we have a company and scales up. So then we can have independent teams working on the same page without fearing that someone's gonna do something wrong and the whole thing is gonna break. On the last slide, I think I might have it's Zach's repo. I think the testing you could use it with using Cypress, and you could do how they call it, that like page testing, because you cannot, you can do unit testing, but you need to have something that scans the pages and checks that there are no changes. And this you can use with Cypress for testing for the microfrontends. Yes, yes. But yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert. I did this as an experiment because I was listening a lot, but I was thinking, okay, how it's done. And the best thing is to, before you start using them, you have to try things, and you have to go through and as you, how many of here do you think you are junior developers? Yes. When you start, you don't know a lot of things, and it can be hard. As you get a bit older, you have to try things to know what is the right thing to use, because you have to have an opinion in the end. So even if I'm quite old in this industry, I still have to go and try things. And sometimes, you want to do talks, maybe you come and talk here like me, and you can try something and say, oh, maybe I want to learn how to do like design systems with Storyblock. Try and use the talk as a way to put yourself a deadline, to say that I'm going to go and talk about it. And that's what I did here. I just want to learn about it. And I just went and tried it. Even if it was going to work, it was an experience that I could give it back to people. And that's the best thing about talking. So you should try. I think that...
¿Alguien más? ¿Una pregunta? Yo un par de comentarios. Igual, si querés, pues charlamos. Hay un par de técnicas para hacerlo. No es lo que... Gracias.
Hi, Aris. Thank you for your presentation. And I would like to know or hear your thoughts about, for example, migrating existing apps, especially if you have like a couple of years of development, and how or which problems do you think would appear on migrating those apps to a microfrontend using Webpack or Mayo Federation?
Hold on. There you go.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it sort of depends how well the app is written. I might, in some cases, write everything from scratch. Sorry. And it depends the app, because if you have written something in Create React app, it might not. But let me show you something that might help you. Can we share this page here? The repo that has a lot of projects. So what Zach has developed that might help you in the future, it's like a repo with a lot of examples of microfrontends. So you can download. So when I asked him, he told me go to my repo and I will give you access to this repo, and you can see. Sorry, you can click it here. And maybe it's gonna open, because that's his. So if you click on this slide, oh yeah, this is yeah. Can you click on top of that? So this repo that is on my slides, I can share it with you after. It has microfrontend examples for. If you go back where it says the blue here. This is Next.js SSR. But if you scroll down here, you have Angular 11, 12, 14, 15 with Apollo client. So what you can do, you can download and you can see how he did it, and you can try to do it the same. So then you can find a way that you can take a Next.js 13 next. So it has and maybe not this one are all Zach, but a lot of people that they use the module federation, and they use it with something else. So one thing I could do is this one, and then try to go through and see which parts of the page they could be broken into microfrontends. and then you can be an architect. Then you are not a developer anymore. You're becoming an architect.
¿Alguna pregunta más?
Ahí quedó la pregunta. Ya.